You will drown in eternal night. Silence.
Welcome back everyone to another Mortal Kombat mobile character review. This time we are taking a closer look at MK11 Rain. We will go through all of his special attacks, his basic attacks, his fatal blow, his passive, and everything else he brings to MK Mobile. MK11 Rain is part of the Outworld class and his passive is called Cloudburst. MK11 Rain starts a match with 1 bar of power. Rain has a 10% chance to immediately counter-attack an opponent's basic attacks. This counter-attack applies the Soak debuff. Characters affected by Soaked are slowed and take 35% more damage from lightning attacks. When an active enemy is affected by Soaked, each instance of lightning attack will hit all enemies affected by Soaked, including those tagged out. Soaked lasts 20 seconds, and synergy-wise all MK11 and Rain teammates have 400% recovery even when Rain is defeated. MK11 Rain was released on the 1st of April 2021 with update 3.2 alongside Classic Jade. So far he has only been available in very few packs, for example that MK11 Rain special pack, the Make It Rain pack, of course the Rain Brutality pack, and aside from that as a potential reward in towers. Rain's gear piece is the Thunder Blade and it gives you 50% basic attack damage boost, 30% damage boost against enemies affected by bleed, fire or poison, which goes for Rain characters only, and 50% reduced power cost on special attack too. When it comes to his feats of strength, he will have to win 500 matches in battle mode to unlock his rune. He will have to win 750 matches in faction wars for his victory stances. For his taunts he has to perform 250 X-ray / fatal blow attacks. For his icons he has to perform 1500 special 2 attacks. For his backgrounds he has to knock out 500 Kotal Khan enemies. And for his titles he has to perform 2000 special 1 attacks. And now we are going to take a closer look at the victory stances one by one, starting with victory. Next we have warming up. Third would be Hydro. And exclusive for MK11 Rain only, Purple Rain. And on your victory screen it will look like this. Now I'm going to show you all of his backgrounds, at least those that I have already unlocked so far. Next up we have the icons. And finally the titles. MK11 Rain has 2 kinds of combo enders. For the first one he will lash out with his weapon, pushing the opponent slightly back, making it ideal for follow-up attacks. On his second combo ender, he will perform 2 kicks, pushing the opponent down to the ground. His special 1 attack is called Treacherous Cut, and it is not only unblockable, but it also applies the bleed debuff as well as soaked at the same time, which is not mentioned, and on top of that, this attack is capable of knocking out your opponents. His special 2 attack is called Thunderous Wrath, and it has a stun debuff tied to it. The damage output will turn really respectable once the opponent is affected by Soaked, and as you guessed it, this attack is also capable of knocking out your opponent. His fatal blow is called Edenian Spikes, and it has a bleed debuff tied to it. This fatal blow is absolutely eye candy, I must say, and no matter how many times I've seen it, it doesn't get boring. Thanks to his passive, he can retaliate when being attacked, and this retaliation can even knock out opponents. Way more interesting is the Soak debuff though, especially if you are able to apply that to several opponents, especially useful if you have his gear piece from the tower, the Divine Argus Cloak, because this way you can team soak the opponent and basically deal damage to all characters at once. And once they come back to the battlefield, they literally have almost no health left to work with. With his Brutality gear, the Divine Argus Cloak and the Divine Tornadic Pauldron, he will have a special combo ender, and of course if you are enabling the Brutal Ending talent, you can even end a character right then and there once that triggers, in case the opponent is below 25% of health, and if it's the last opponent, then he will perform his full Brutality. And now it's time to recommend some gear again, and the first choice would be the Bladed Fan. With this one you can gain health back on special 1 use, as well as have block break on basic attacks, so absolutely makes sense for Rain. Then as my second choice I would go with the Bloodsucker. This one comes from the Tower of Horror, and once an opponent is bleeding, basic attacks will start healing you. Then as choice number 3 I would go with his personal Thunderblade. This way you can have the power costs of special 2 reduced. Combined with the Bladed Fan, you have the block breaker and the healing properties on special 1, so you can use both special attacks to their full effect. But to continue on, as choice number 4 I would go with the Divine Tornadic Pauldron, not so much because of the critical hit chance boost or the strengthen after critical or lethal damage is applied. This one is mainly there to enable him to perform the Brutality, nothing more. And even maxed out it doesn't look that interesting, simply because the strengthen buffs can only stack to 3 times more, so it's not that impressive overall, but the things turn around very quickly as soon as you combine it with the Divine Argus Cloak. And with this one things become really interesting, starting off with a little health boost, which is always welcome, but then you also have 70% chance to apply a random negative effect in case the opponent breaks your block, and that's only on Fusion 0, so it would be 100% when maxed out. but also with the Divine Argus Cloak there is a chance that you could apply Soaked to the entire team, so Team Soaked. And as I already demonstrated earlier on in the video, once you are using these lightning attacks, once the entire opponent team is soaked, then everybody will take damage from it, no matter if that comes from Rain or from Raiden. Even your Strike Force Cassie Cage Special 2 would count as a lightning attack. So this still pretty new debuff leaves open a lot of chance to experiment with different characters and gear. But to close off this segment, I'm going to show you my personal setup, which would be the Thunderblade, the Divine Argus Cloak, Divine Tornadic Pauldron, and the Bladed Fan. I explained all four already, so we can move on to the character recommendations. When it comes to characters to team up with MK11 Rain, of course my first thought goes to Classic Raiden. His tag-in alone is already a lightning attack, as well as his special 2. Then you could move on to MK11 Raiden, who has the lightning attack on his special 2, also dealing massive damage, and on top making MK11 Rain then immune to power drain. And sticking with that thought, of course, we could go with MK11 Cabal, who would make him immune to stun, as well as MK11 Jade, who then also would grant DOT immunity. Even better, MK11 Rain would start healing from those. And while we are speaking about healing, the winner, as usual, is Day of the Dead Kitana. Rain would start healing each time there is a Revenant shield popping up, a character is knocked out regardless of what team, or resurrections, speaking about Jason Voorhees for example. So in all these cases, Rain as an Outworld character would start healing. Long story short, the best that can happen to your character is when he regains health. MK11 Rain is without a doubt one of the really interesting characters, even though I must admit that I'm not completely blown away by MK11 Rain. I like his unblockable special 1. The design is fine as well, even though I must admit that I like it a little bit better from MKX. His weapon looks a little awkward, therefore the fatal blow looks absolutely gorgeous, so that kind of cancels each other out. His special 2 is quite okay. I also like the basic attacks. They are not the best that we have in the game or anything, but they're absolutely serviceable. It's not that they have a way too slow response or anything, so it absolutely works fine if you are using him as a fighter. And granted, I only have him at Fusion 0, so I can only judge him by what he is showing me with the fusion boost in the quick battles. But overall, with about 750 matches plus that I've played now with him, I must say I'm absolutely okay with Rain. It's just that he doesn't completely knock me out of my chair. But how about we are just moving on to the overall summary and look at the pros and cons that I have for MK11 Rain. So starting off with the pros, as I already mentioned, the unblockable special 1 is absolutely gold. The bleed debuff, nothing really special but useful. Then his passive, and here I mainly count the retaliation. It's a bit disappointing because it's only 10%, but it can be very annoying if you face him, for example, in a boss fight. Unfortunately for a team soaked, you would have to have the Divine Argus Cloak, so this will be a little bit difficult for players who haven't played that specific tower event or were not lucky enough to get it from the tower. The bar of starting power is amazing though. And then let's move on to the special 2, and here I mainly would point out that damage that it deals, especially if you apply that to a soaked opponent. And even let's say that it's just on one opponent, and let's ignore Team Soaked for a moment. So if you're applying that to just one opponent with good health, it will deal massive damage if you manage to soak him before. So that's so far as the absolute positives goes, and now on to the negatives, and my number one point here would be the brutality. Unfortunately, I gotta tell you guys, I find it looks absolutely laughable. The constant back and forth, left and right, it just takes away a lot of time, and you will notice that very extremely if you are facing boss battles or tower battles with a timer. So in a way, the main thing that MK11 Rain brings to the table with his new brutality is that Noob Saibot is no longer the character with my least favorite brutality. Then my second con, and that's also quite a big one for me, are the taunts, aka voices. I always was more a fan of the MKX version, and I don't like the speaking role that MK11 Rain has gotten now. So if they one day would decide that we can choose between the MKX and the MK11 version, I would never ever use the MK11 one. And then my final con is also his final victory stance. I'm absolutely not impressed with that one. I would even rather use the Hydro version, so the third victory stance, where he goes into his classic pose, just because his very exclusive one is nothing that I would be interested in using. It just looks very boring and simple. And for example, if you just look at how much love to details they put into the final victory stance of, for example, MK11 Sub-Zero, and then compare that to MK11 Rain, I'm really sorry, Rain has absolutely no edge here. But now that all being said, it's time for a final rating, and I would give MK11 Rain, as he is at the moment, a 7 out of 10, which still makes him a good diamond character, but of course it's nothing that would completely blow you out of your existence. And also the factor that I never was really big on Rain as a character itself might play into that. So in case you're an absolute Rain fanatic, maybe add one extra point for yourself, just because you love the character much more than I do. But overall for me, it's a solid 7 out of 10. And that's not even that bad if you think about it. But yeah guys, that was my review on MK11 Rain. I hope that you enjoyed this video as always. Thank you a lot for stopping by on the channel and spending a few minutes of your day with me. And now the question goes out to you guys. Answer in the comments. Do you have Rain? How do you like him? Was it difficult to obtain him? How do you like his gameplay? Did you expect more from the character, or is he fine the way he is? Just leave all your thoughts in the comment section below, and to everybody else, see you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in once again. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. In case you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button twice just to make sure. And if you want to support the channel a little further, please consider joining the Patreon family of KC Mobile Gaming. You can already do that with as little as just $1 a month. And also follow me on social media like Twitter and Facebook. You will find all the necessary information in the description below of every video. If you want to see more content, then why don't you just click on one of those two videos here. Thank you for your support. Have a good one. KC over and out for today.